Okay, guys, we are live now, and I've started recording also for our reference. Good evening, everyone. My name is Johnson Wala, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to today's workshop, where we'll be discussing about safety, workplace safety responsibility. Who is actually responsible for workplace safety? So, like you all know, we are going to be discussing, interacting, arguing, asking questions, agreeing and disagreeing at the same time. So we must have to learn something today in any way possible. First, I will share my screen. If you can see my screen, just let me know.
Yes, we can see.
All right, a brief introduction about Safeoclock. This is just an idea that came to some of us here, that we need to have a discussion, a platform whereby we can discuss and enlighten ourselves in this profession we found ourselves, this health and safety profession. And knowing that safety is something that should not go out of our mind or should not go to rest. So we'll consider the name Safeoclock. Just like a clock doesn't rest. A clock is always working at every minute and every second. So that is how the name Safeoclock came on board, that as health and safety professionals, we should not rest no matter where we are, when we are at home, when we are on the way, when we are in the workplace. We should be working like a clock, analyzing, identifying hazards, recommending control measures, conducting risk assessment. Wherever we are, just like a clock, we should be working every minute and every second to ensure that wherever we are is safe. Even while you're on the road, you must point out some issues that are not safe and do something about it. So that is what we should be doing as health and safety professionals. So that goes with the name Safeoclock, and that is how we think it's supposed to be. Now, as a health and safety professional, especially IOSH members, if you're an IOSH member, you will find out that in the new CPD platform, you're expected to complete at least 30 hours of CPD each year. So this is an added reason why we decide to be engaging in this workshop every week, so that at least in each month we'll be having at least 3 or 4 CPDs, 4 hours of CPD. So this will help us also to keep refreshing our memory, learning new things, and developing ourselves more. It's part of CPD, is accepted also, because you are not just listening, you are also talking. You are teaching people, you are educating people, so it's accepted as a CPD as well. So that is that for Safeoclock. Now let me introduce the topic for today. I'll not be speaking alone, everybody will be speaking, but let's dive into the topic for today. Today's topic is workplace safety. Who is responsible? Okay. Is the responsibility lying on health and safety professionals? Or is it lying on the workers? Or is it everybody's responsibility? Okay. So to answer this question from my own perspective, it's not a one-directional answer. It's an answer that will come in different dimensions. So I'll be speaking from one dimension, and I know that other professionals here will be speaking in other dimensions as well. Okay. Now, I will be looking at safety responsibility in workplace. It refers to the employer's responsibility to keep employees safe and each individual's responsibility to use safe work practices. So this, by definition, is giving me the answer in 2 dimensions, which means the responsibility of an employer to ensure that the workplace is safe, and also safety responsibility also lies on the employees to ensure that they maintain or they use a safe work practice to ensure that the job or the workplace remains safe as well. So in this, my definition, I'm bringing in the responsibility in 2 dimensions, one on the employer and second dimension on the employee. Okay, let me back up my definition through some standards. Okay, health and safety at work, 1974, says that employer is responsible for workplace safety and that the employer must protect and ensure that health and safety of the employees are maintained in the workplace. Okay, this is what the health and safety at work at 1974 says. It also says that there are some responsibilities assigned to everyone in the workplace, but most of the employers hold the responsibility to ensure that the workplace is safe. Okay. Now, in the Health and Safety Act 1974, it defines general duties of everyone from employers and employees to business owners, managers, as maintaining health and safety within the workplace. So this Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 is placing responsibility on the employer and as well as everyone in the workplace. Now let's look at what OSHA has to say. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, says that employers have the responsibility to provide a safe workplace, and employers must provide their employees with a workplace that does not have serious hazard and must follow all OSHA safety and health standards. Okay, so OSHA is placing the responsibility on the employers to ensure that the workplace, they provide a safe workplace to the employees. And in doing so, they must follow the OSHA standard. All right, let's look at another definition from ISO 45001. It says that employers are responsible for health and safety of their employees. Okay, ISO 45001, being a framework, places responsibility on the top management. The responsibility to prevent accident and incident and ill health and provision of safe and healthy workplace is placed on top management of that organization. So top management shall ensure that a process for consultation of the workers is established and maintained. This is what ISO 45001 is saying in relation to responsibility of workplace safety. The employer is responsible, and in a specific specification, it places the responsibility on the top management of that organization. Because in some situations, people will argue that who is the employer? The employer is maybe someone that is not even around, or the owner of the company becomes the employer. Or let's say if the name of your company is Safeoclock, maybe Safeoclock as the employer or as the owner of the company is not always around, it's not available, it's nowhere to be found. Now, we are placing responsibility on the employer, but the main employer or the the director of that organization is nowhere to be found. It's not available. So this ISO 45001 is placing responsibility on the top management of that organization. So we don't continue saying employer, employer, employer without defining which aspect of that organization is responsible. Okay, so in this regard, ISO 45001 has specifically put the responsibility of health and safety at the workplace on the top management of the organization. And that does not remove the other responsibilities placed on the employees, like ensuring that they follow the safe system of work, ensuring that they comply with health and safety standards and procedures, ensuring that they do not interfere with safety equipment in the workplace. Okay, so these are other responsibilities placed on the employee, but the main responsibility to maintain health and safety in the workplace has been placed on the top management of the organization, according to ISO 45001. All right, so this is just like the introduction. Then the other discussions continues as I welcome my brother to take the stage. Mr. Stephen, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. For those who are joining us for the first time, my name is Stephen Francis. I'm a chartered member of IOSH and also a member of International Institute of Freight and Safety Management. Yes, based on the introduction Mr. Johnson has given, so far so good. Basically, I will just start by saying, according to the topic, safety is not the job of a safety professional who is responsible, right? I will start by using this Safeoclock, okay, to bring beauty to this discussion. As Mr. Johnson has described, when you look at the responsibility, based on the definition you projected, you discover that both employer and employee has responsibility. So there's a kind of collective responsibility within an organization to achieve health and safety, okay? Now, which means it has to work like a cyclical movement between employer and the employee. And don't forget, we as a safety professionals, we are employee. We are not employer, okay? So whatever happens, we fall under the level of employee, because why this topic is very important is that most organizations, especially substandard organizations, because we as a professional, from our journey in the practice, we might have found ourselves, especially in a country like Qatar, we might have found ourselves in some organization that the implementation are not like fully, you know, so along the line as we are growing, we might have had a touch of one of all these things. So I've seen cases whereby some company just employ you as a safety professional, okay? And when they employ you, they expect that everything is done by you as a safety. It is safety. It is safety. You know, that is why when little accident happen, it is safety. It is safety. You know, even without an investigation, proper investigation to identify the root cause. Because when you do a proper investigation, you discover the root cause. You discover that most root causes are coming from management failure points. Okay? Now, why I'm bringing the Safeoclock is that it works like a circle. Okay? If the management is there and the employer are not responsive, employee are not responsive, you discover that we might not be able to achieve safety. That is where safety culture comes in. But most primarily and more fundamentally, that is why if you see in the ISO 45001 2018, it's one of the most recent standard, okay? And from the definition, you could see. But I believe, okay, that the major and bulk of responsibility lies within the employer, but they cannot achieve it alone without the employee. So when the employee level comes in, the first point of call will now be the safety professionals. Because by virtue of our profession and by suggestion, safety professional primarily, our job is to focus on creating and implementing a system. And what is this system? Health and safety management system. That is why before the ISO was developed, it was developed by professionals. They all come together by experts, by lecturers, who are into health and safety, people who have spent several years in practice to come together. When you see regulation and all that, these are professionals. They are not just anyhow people just come together. Okay, so when we look at it, you discover that primarily, because even in an organization, you don't expect the directors or the owner of the company to start doing risk assessments, to start doing some kind of monitoring. So it is our responsibility at that point, because sometimes in some substandard organization that believes that it is the responsibility of a safety professional, they don't expect that resources from the management has a vital role to play. Because somebody will not be telling you, is your responsibility as a safety, is your responsibility as a safety, and at the end of the day, you discover that the equipment they are using to work is not in line with standard. The PPE are not available. So it is the responsibility of a safety to provide PPE. Or is it the responsibility of a safety professional to provide a safe system of work, in the sense that a safe workplace? Now, when you look at the word safe workplace, it encompasses so many things, whereby you cannot throw away resources. And where is the resources coming from? It is from the top management. That is why solely and fundamentally, I believe it lies within the owner who is in charge, the high level people within the company. Okay, our responsibility is just to come in as an employee and as a professional in safety. What we do is that they employ us for our knowledge, okay, for our expertise, whereby we begin to develop and design policy, we design programs, and promote and implement procedures. Okay, basically that is what our responsibility is as a worker, because we are not working in the production line, we are not producing anything. Okay, what we produce is to design, is to develop policy, plan, procedure, and we deliver these things to the workers, to the management. Okay, so that is why when you go, when you look at some standard, like what Mr. Johnson has said, the Health and Safety at Work Act, it places some certain responsibility within the employer. It plays down to the employee as well. And if you also go further with the ILO Convention, C-155 of 1981, okay? Now, when you go through, there's a part 4 that talk about action at the level of undertaking. When you begin to look from Article 16 to 21, this primary focus is on employer. It is very, very huge because most of the employers today, most of them, they don't believe that it is their responsibility. They always believe it is the safety officer that will make safety in a project. But it's very, very wrong. That is why you see some of us, we find ourselves in a project, we continue to struggle. Then at the end of the day, what we do when we find ourselves in such kind of situation, we just discover that we try to protect ourselves because we know the environment we find ourselves. Because if an accident happens here in Qatar, in any project, when ambulance come and police come, the first person they will pick is the safety officer. Whether it is the management that caused it, it did not provide resources. So when you go there, you first of all you'll be enjoying yourself in jail. We have a lot of people who are victims of this. And when you dip into it critically, you find out that the problem is not from the safety professional. You have tried your best, you have done a lot of things, but you see, if the management did not commit themselves, because it is expected they commit themselves 100%. If they don't commit themselves, at the end of the day, there will be failure in some areas. Like Mr. Johnson has said, when you look at the ISO 45001, he has given us a comprehensive details of what should be done. That's why it is called Occupational Health and Safety Management System. If such a system can be followed according to that standard, you will discover that you are likely to have issues within the project. Okay, so I still believe, like I've said, and as I've given that definition, because if you stand and look at it, it's just there's a way we call this yala safety here. The safety officer, if you just be monitoring people who are using element, those who are not using element, those who are using, that is, people have used that to tag it like, oh, this is our work to do yes, it's part of the supervision, it's part of the monitoring to ensure that, yes, all those things that have been set in guidelines are being followed, because people, out of depression, out of stress, they might not even, or they might forget to comply with some of these standard operating procedure, which has been set aside to work in compliance. So basically, and in general, it's a collective effort. But the truth is, if the management is not there to commit themselves, because if a management commit themselves, and me, I'm not doing my job as a safety professional, then they can fire me. So that is why, as a professional, we have to build our skills. It's not about the yala safety. We should build our skills, we should build our competence at the level whereby we can develop, we can design policy, plan, procedure, in order to manage risk within such an organization. I think I would like to stop here so that I don't take much of our time, so that other people can bring one or two points into this discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Steve, for your contribution in the topic. So this question still remains, who is responsible for workplace safety? Okay, let's hear from Mr. Femi on his own perspective of who is responsible for workplace safety.
Hi, everyone, all professionals in the house. My name is Olufemi Ayokunle Ajayi, a charter member of IOSH, which, like Mr. Johnson said, is not a threat email regarding CPD that is has to be completed. That when I saw the email, I was like, oh, I have to buckle up. I do CPDs, but I don't mostly record it, but I know that now I must be recording it, so I must take it up. And this is a good platform and a opportunity for all professionals as well. That maybe an affiliate member, a charter member, or GADA member, or CIF as well. Because I know some of my guys are here that they are smelling CIF. They are looking at the front. I will not mention their name, but I can believe he's listening to. So, health and safety, who is responsible? I would say it's an open-ended question that till date, the answer is still is defined by law, but are they really following it? Is it really being followed? Is it really being implemented on site? Is it being many questions has been still coming on about it. So because health and safety, first of all, as a safety professional, you cannot say you want to start implementing maybe what you learn in school, what you learn in courses, without having a company or somebody that employs you to come and, okay, that sees your CV, okay, come and or carry out your experience and your all the things you've learned, come and implement it on our site or in our company. So in my own opinion, for health and safety to be effective, it starts with the company owners, which mainly they are the employees. I'm sorry, the employers. So because before you've been given chance to start the company, fine, you must have maybe undergone many tender, make a bid, do this, submit your HSA policy and your company policy guidelines before you have been approved to maybe to carry out your activities in the company. So when somebody that is thinking, okay, I want to bring somebody to come and work for me, what do I have for the person? I believe that's what should be in the person's mind. Okay, what do I have for him? His health? Well, I'm going to provide him maybe health insurance. Am I going to give him what are the facilities I have to provide for him? So, and if all those things are being put in place, provided by the employer, I believe employee that is coming in, that he sees that, oh, we have a good health and safety policy that has been followed, and the management are committed. Not that they just, we've seen companies that they will just say, oh, we have this, yeah, where is your ISO? Yeah, we have it, it's up to date. Where is your 9,000 hours? We have it, it's there. Are they following it? If it's being, take for example, the owner of a company coming to site for inspection, like maybe the CEO and his board and the mates, they are coming into the site with their full helmet, full jacket, as in full PPE, let me put it that way. Who are you that you have been employed that you won't comply? But in the situation whereby the owner of the company is coming to sites, he was even obeying security to park well, he just park then, yeah, maybe it's just reverse parking on, he just park his own. Anyhow, he comes to the site, not signing in, maybe a security gate to sign and register. It just, others will follow suit. So those are the things that the people you employ, they'll be looking at. The owner, the manager, the top guys, are they really following what is being said? Because safety is not about don't go to the don't walk at night without body harness. No, it's not. It is, but it starts from somewhere. It's like a culture. Like I want to eat, I have to say my prayers for those that believe in it. I have to wash my hand. I have to use a beep, just like a process like that. So you cannot say you want to start from the top. It cannot be implemented from the top. It's like from the ground, and people will follow suit. So if all these things are really being done by the top guys, as in the management, they provide a good welfare facilities, they provide rest areas, their safety of the worker is very paramount to them. They are consulting them, they are coming to site, having meetings, feedbacks, not that they are just operating from distance far away from site. And they are representing the company in a good, definitely. The morale of the workers will be high. They want to give in their best to ensure that they are representing and doing their work in a very safe manner. But in a situation whereby a company is saying, this is our policy, it's been signed by the CEO, then just go and do your work. It's not done that way. So the responsibility lies in the employer has his own rules to play, while the employee, they have theirs as well. So, and to make it like, okay, this company, we know we are in Doha currently. If they mention a company, Mr. Johnson, that, okay, this company go there, you are SR50, no, it's zero. You hear the name, you know, I cannot. I will know, no, they are, you know, their safety is, you know, we know it, we see them. So it's just like that. So when the health and safety policy is being not only having on policy, pasted in all area of sites, and it's being implemented, that's when the money, the time, everything the owner of the company is putting in the company, it will be appreciated, will be shown, and it's going to be like a balance. As in, workers are doing their own, the top are doing their own. Give me safety on site. I don't want accident. I don't want anything. It will just come like that. But in a situation whereby the safety manager is struggling to ensure that even his own safety officers or deputies or anything have simple PPE. I've seen companies here in there that the safety manager will use his money to buy PPE for workers, not its safety officer, is the workers on site. They're saying they don't have PPE. Their safety boot is like this. Then before he will use it, then get his what's it called, bills. Then we go and tender it every month for the management to get his money back. So what you can imagine that situation, and you are saying the management is doing what they are doing very fine. We have our policy. We have it won't, the morale will be at a point that it won't be like I'm going to. Many people, once they have finished their duty, maybe 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., they don't want to see anything. They don't have anything to do with that company until the next day. So as in the zeal won't almost always be there. But when you know that this is, I've seen safety, not like just going to it. I've seen safety people that were telling him, that is your work. Go and fix barrier. Go and carry barrier. This is pickup. Go and load it. Find people. I've seen it. We've heard many stories like that in Doha here as well. So you might think of a situation, then I'll tell you, what is your work when you cannot arrange barriers? Then you'll be telling them, no, I'll tell you, no, it's your work. You are the safety. You are the safety. No, it's not work. It doesn't work like that. There is, in the policy that the every company they are submitted, I believe sections are there that's guiding the employer, the employee, everybody, lines of responsibility, statement of intent, and everything. But they'll just have it on book and let's have it done. So the responsibility to have a good safety culture in a company, to promote the morale of the workers, to maybe have a good representation among other co-worker companies. The responsibility lies between the worker, the employer and the employee. So to strike a balance, both sides should and must do what is expected of them. We cannot finish this topic. We'll be trashing it till, if everybody speaks there, you will still have something to say over at the end of our time. So let me just stop there, and I will yield back to Mr. Johnson to call the next person. So while I listen and learn as well. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Femi, for your contribution. I'll call on Mr. Andrew. Andrew, are you online to make your contribution?
Sandro is here. Just 1 minute. Let me tell you to keep the music down. Yeah, sorry for the little break in transmission. Good to see you all here today again, to have me. My name is Andrew Oko. I'm a health and safety practitioner. We are learning. Keep on saying thank you for the sharing of knowledge and promoting the health and safety in our workplace, in our home, our personal life, and all. So this topic is actually a very broad one, a very interesting one as well.
Your video is not on. Do you want to on your video?
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry about that.
It's okay now.
Yeah, this topic is actually a very dicey and broad topic, which has been a bone of contention. There is an issue of conflict in our workplaces. I think every one of us have this experience of who is responsible for health and safety, just as every speaker have rightly hit the nail on the head. It's always finger pointing. So the challenge here is, how do we make people understand this role, the responsibility? Because basically, if I don't understand my role properly, I will try to, I will not know I should do it or I should not do it. And this is one of the conflicts that we face as a health and safety practitioner on site. People don't know their role. It's not defined in their job specification or their job, how do you call it? Their job description. Sure. Yes. Most time, these roles and responsibility regarding health and safety is not defined in many job descriptions of individuals in the organization. Sometimes even the employer, most time they don't have the full understanding, because they will just as Mr. Steven and Mr. Johnson and Mr. Femi, who have already talked about, they just point finger, we employ you as safety, accident not supposed to happen. When accidents happen, that means we are the cost. So that is the challenge. And from the whole guidance, we have the guidance, we have the ISO, we have the ILO, we have the HSE guidance, like HSE 65. Then we have so many, and code of conduct, the QCS, they are all there. And these rules and responsibility are spelled out. But why are we having same challenge? Now we have the most recent one, the ISO, which give us all the management tools that we're supposed to use, but yet the same issue continues. So what we answer ourselves at this time, and this question is very paramount: what is the missing line? Why is this not settled once and for all? Why are we having this like altercation? Like me, my former project is like hell. If anything goes wrong, if somebody spit, it is safety. If somebody did not do his job, it is safety. If the barrier is not kept, if the manhole is not being closed, it is safety. I had an experience. It was really tough. I have to get the planks so that accident will not happen, because me, I don't want to go to police station. As you have said, the first person they will pick is the safety. This is your area. When accident happens, who is the safety that is assigned in this area? That is the question, right? And when accident happens, who is the safety? Sometimes your manager, if he's the kind of manager who don't want to, who is very scared, he will put everything on your head, even the safety manager. Sorry to say that. Okay, so at the end of the day, if you don't have a strong manager as a safety officer, an accident happens in your location, you are the first victim. You may even be, you will be considering yourself, it's me that even have this accident, but it will be better for me, because it will, it's traumatizing. Why? Because there is this misunderstanding who is responsible and who is not responsible. I believe that roles are not well spelled, are not well defined, because one thing, there is responsibility, there is accountability. The top management, sometimes, just as you have said, they are the owner may not be there. He will assign people to manage, right? He will assign people to manage. And when anything happens, the law says the first responsibility comes from the owner, which is the top management, or the, So this person have already delegated the role to top management or people to manage. And when something happens, they will call on him. That is where accountability comes in. And as the health and safety practitioner, maybe the safety manager or the safety officer, we must take issue of accountability. Very important. Because one thing, as a safety manager, you delegate responsibility to somebody. Okay, let me start from the owner. As the owner, you delegate responsibility to somebody to manage, and you are not accountable. You see where the issue comes in. It will leave you, okay, go, I left everything for you. He will not provide the resources. He will not follow the simple rules, like you, as the owner of this project, you are coming, you're supposed to put on the PPE, you're supposed to park well, you're supposed to follow the parking guidelines like reverse parking, you're supposed to follow a particular pedestrian walkway and all that. These are the issues that we need to hold people accountable on. And it is also very paramount that if you are working as a safety officer, as a safety manager, engineer, or whatever, it is very important that you define the roles of individuals, their health and safety roles. Let them understand. And just as you guys have rightly spelled out the laws, the guidance, the specifications, we should let them know also that if they violate on their own side, they are going to be held accountable when issues happen. That is why it is always good that we continue to implement the system. We should depend on the system, not the system depending on us, because the major problem is that we have all these processes, all these health and safety processes and procedures in place. But instead of we depending on the system is depending on us, both as workers and as management. That is a chaos situation which many of us found ourselves. I've been a first-hand victim of that, and by God's grace, we skate through that project. When the project manager feels, I have employed you, then anything that happens, use your head to carry it. But we stood our ground in that project to make him know that you are the one responsible. If you don't allow the safety officer to implement or enforce the system, accident is going to happen. And when accident happens, you will be the first. In short, there was issues that involve accidents which call the attention of the authority and the police and all that. So I believe the project manager at the time learned from his mistake and everything became normal. So that is that from me. I hope I've not taken too much time. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Andrew, for your contribution. We appreciate. Harrison, you raise your hand.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, all. First and foremost, I want to say thank you, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Stephen, Mr. Olufemi, and Mr. Andrew Oko. Thank you so much for all that you have said. I must give credit to you. They are well talked out and they are interesting. However, I just want to contribute a little line, and I take very cognizant notice of a particular, topic he touched, Mr. Andrew Oko. He made mention of accountability. That is the key word, accountability. That is where the top management or the employer really comes to play, even though he has a responsibility, but the accountability surely for this individual or the top management to account for whatever that happened in the project as a whole. He is accountable for that. The responsibility that he can actually delegate to every other person, as the case may be, depending on our functionality for the project. So I will look at it from this angle. Like we rightly cited the Health and Safety Act of 1974, Occupational Health and Safety Regulation of 1999, and ILO, all of these, including the QCS and the rest, all of these regulations, OSHA of 1970, all of these have been able to streamline this responsibility of a team who is responsible for health and safety in the workplace. Of course, it is a top management. Of course, it is everyone, including employees. How? First and foremost, the top management has to provide a safe workplace. This is a part of their responsibility. A safe workplace. That is the ab initio. They start at the beginning, right? Then he has to provide safe equipment, safe chemical or substances or article. He has to provide adequate supervision, supervisors. He has to provide training and information. He has to provide welfare facility. This is top management. This is employer. They are still talking about the owner of the, sorry, whether you call it the owner or the owner representative, the ones in charge, right, of the project. So if you take a holistic look at all of this responsibility, that is the total sum of whatever that makes up the project. The workplace, the plant and equipment, the chemical or substances or article that will be used there, provision of training, provision of supervision, what call it, welfare facilities, PP, including PP. So it will be safe to say that health and safety responsibility largely lies on the top management or the employer, right? However, there are also responsibility for the employees. The employees have been mandated, one, to be responsible for their own health and safety, and those that will be affected by their activity, their colleague. Whatever activity that you are doing that will affect your colleague, you have to be careful to ensure their safety also. And you have to cooperate with your employer that whatever that has been provided for the sake of safety, okay, must not be tampered with, unauthorized. You must cooperate with the training that you have been giving. You must cooperate with the procedures and everything that has been put in place by your employer. So it will be very safe to say the top management is largely responsible for health and safety in the workplace. Okay, now the body of providing a safe system of work, a safe work method management, all these are the body duties of the employer, even though he may delegate this to the safety manager. The safety manager is just taking a delegation of the employer's responsibility to look after the safety part of it. He is not solely responsible for the safety. No, everyone is responsible for safety, but at different level. So the burden of safety at a larger level, or when you look at it with the eye of the what do you call it? The eye of the law, it is the employer. You keep hearing the employer in all of the regulations. You keep hearing the employer in all of the acts that have been cited, right? So it is all about largely on the employer, even though this will cascade to everyone doing his own bits. At the end of the day, just like Mr. Okon said, rightly said, the employer will be held accountable for all of this. So where do we come in? Where do the safety personnel come in, or supervisors or engineers or every other person comes in? Now, for a matter, I may be wrong, I stand to be corrected, for an engineer, a supervisor, a safety personnel, or everyone or a worker working on site to be competent, he has to be aware of the same system of work of carrying out that particular activity. What are the risks involved in that activity? What are the hazards and how to correct them? These are part of the requirement. These are part of the things that will make you know, okay, this individual is competent, not just being able to do the installation. No, if you are able to do the installation and you are not doing it the same way, you are not said to be competent. Yes, I beg to be I beg to be corrected on that. So my submission is the top management, the employer, has largely responsible for health and safety, even though we all share this responsibility. But accountability surely belongs to the top management. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harrison, for your submission and contribution. You have summarized almost everything that we have been saying, and your submission is accurate. So thank you for that, your contribution. And
thank you very much.
I'll give the opportunity to someone else. Mr. David, are you awake?
Yes, I'm awake. Thank you very much. Well, it's quite an interesting topic, and I think every of you have done justice to the topic. I think everyone is just saying the same thing. Just some are saying 12, some are saying dozen. However, I would like to make a reference to a material I one time came across, which has to do with the CSP exam. So I think there it was clearly defined that the responsibility of health and safety solely lies on the top management. There it was clearly spelled out. And I think safety, like we all know, there is this general saying or slogan, we will all say safety is everyone's what? Responsibility. And of course, the last speaker use a key word, which is a very vital word, where you say safety is also a shared responsibility. However, majority of the responsibility lies with the employer, because the employer needs to provide the required resources, which is part of the ISO 45001, clause 7, yes, under support, and one of the sub clause there is resources. So safety cannot survive, cannot strive, cannot be in existence if there is no resources. Resources here could be anything, time, effort, training, provision of PP, and all of these things that you guys have highlighted, in the past. So we all did NEBOSH IGC, and I think the first element in NEBOSH IGC boils down to this. I could remember in my IGC exam, the first question that popped up was, what is employer responsibility and employee responsibility? And of course, you guys have highlighted all of these. So in my own opinion, I still stick, I still stick and stand on the side of those who say, yes, largely the top management, or the employer rather, he's responsible for the health and safety, because he provides everything you need in terms of the information, the supervision, the training. So based on this, the employees are obliged, they also have a responsibility to make sure that they maintain and take proper care of the PPE provided for them by the employer. They also have a duty of care to ensure their own safety and the safety of those working around them. They also have a responsibility to speak up, to report any unsafe act, unsafe action that they come across. And they also have a responsibility to also speak up if they have any doubts, anything they are not clear about, or they have no good knowledge or about to carry out the job. And that's why the training is provided for them, so that the retraining could be done for them. So my submission is that the employer is responsible for the health and safety. No matter how you want to see it, he is responsible. However, he has employed people like me and you, and he has delegated some responsibility to us, but he's still accountable, because anything goes wrong, he will still be invited to the court as well to come and defend himself, to come and prove himself that he has, made all the provision available, the training, the PPE, making the workplace safe, even hazardous materials that will be work with, he has made sure that the necessary controls, have been provided, are in place. So everything largely falls on the shoulder of the employer, but however, it's a shared responsibility, and everyone is responsible for their safety and for the safety of those around them. So thank you. This is my only little contribution.
All right, thank you, Mr. David, for that contribution. We appreciate you despite the time difference. Okay, for everyone who has contributed, we appreciate your time and your efforts. And in summary, in summary, we can see that safety responsibility lies to a large extent on the employer, but it's also a shared responsibility that employees have their own part to play, while employers has their own part to play also. Now, the one challenge that we are left with as health and safety professionals is we understand these responsibilities. We understand what the law says. Most of the top management claim not to understand, or most of them even clearly do not understand that they are responsible for health and safety. So the bulk of the question now goes to, how do we communicate this? How do we let them understand that they are responsible for health and safety, even though they can delegate, even though the responsibility could be delegated to others? Then how do we make them understand fully that it is their responsibility to ensure that there is health and safety in the workplace? Okay, Mr. Harrison, you have some minutes. Go ahead. Harrison, you raised your hand. Can you go ahead? Unmute yourself.
Thank you. I was already talking. I just forgot to unmute. I will be very fast about it. Okay. I will highlight it. First and foremost, the health and safety policy is being signed by the top management. That is it, taking responsibility and accountability for health and safety. Okay. But in that same policy, you have him also, enlisting the people, different departments or different individuals that will be responsible for different activity regarding to health and safety. However, if you go to the HSE management plan, we have a portion of it that talks about OHS responsibility, which is health and safety responsibility. So you have the top management responsibility is there, safety manager responsibility is there, safety officer is there. Everyone responsibility, what you are expected to do, what you are expected to carry out while you're on the field, it is there. So it's either we are having these procedures and it's not being communicated, so they don't know, or some of these organizations don't have it at all. So if we have it, we need to communicate it for them to be able to be aware of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's a wonderful contribution.
Let me say one. Yeah, yes. Let me say one or two things. Yes. Now, just like everybody have contributed excellently, I would just really want to say one or two things, because for when we look at it as a professional, when we look at some certain industries, they have system. When I mean system, they have system. When you go to the oil and gas, there are systems. Then maybe you now proceed to some process industry. Where most of us have these challenges is in the construction and probably in some other facility management and thereabout. Because the truth is that information is power, education is good, all these things are powerful. Most challenges that some of these organizations, like brother says something about HSE plan and thereabout. Most of the time, they will just ask you, prepare HSE plan. You prepare HSE plan, they forward it to the project. Do the directors, or the owner, do they even find time to go through it? And you see, most of these things are also challenged to us because it depends on how the organization is structured. An organization where you don't have a representative at the level of the board. In some organizations, there's an health and safety director, okay, at the board of directors. So you see, at that level, it speaks for health and safety. At that level, there are responsibilities from the level of the board of directors. Okay, so because in some organizations, you just discover that you are just alone as a professional, you are just here. Anything you just write, you send to them, they just sign, they forward to clients, alas, that is all. So for me, it's a very big things we have to keep fighting for. And in my own subjection, I believe that as the laws or standard or regulation are being reviewed, from time to time, they should introduce a basic safety course, especially for like project managers and maybe owners. I think Ayosh has something like that of recent. There are some course for executives.
Exactly, Ayosh managing safely.
You see, because at that level, they will begin to understand, because it is not, sometimes when you go and be telling them, it depends how your organization is. You go and be telling the owner of the company, they will just look at, who is this one? I've been to a project where we had one of my guys, we just got there for the first day in that project. We never knew he was the project manager. We asked him, sir, you have to put in your PPE. You know what the project manager told my safety officer? He said, if you know you are ready to work, stay here. If you're not ready to work, you can leave. So you could imagine this kind of culture. You could imagine this kind of expression from a project manager. So you see, no matter how you tell this kind of person, they only believe maybe we are just saying it. But when they make it a compulsory requirement as a project manager to manage a project, you must have a qualification, at least maybe at the level of Ayosh managing safely. Then you should understand the fundamentals. You should understand those basic things in terms of responsibilities and all that. I think at that level, we can be able to start communicating. It should start from a regulation or standard level. Why we come in as a professional to give advice on that. I think that will help. That's my submission.
All right, thank you. Femi, your hand is up. Go ahead.
I just have to say something. Okay, regarding, when I was talking at that time, like the health and safety, as in the commitment should be from the top. Have you? Let me just play a scenario that happened. It happened to me. Okay, we are trying to curb or limit, even stop people from smoking inside their offices. Yeah. Then it happens, we did the training campaigns, signages, stuff like that. Posters, we made it available like very close, as in we built additional smoking areas with the boards you can in the site. Do you know the project manager himself smokes in his office? Whenever he wants to smoke, he will put on the air fresheners in his office and he'll be smoking directly to the window. That day I knocked, maybe he forgot, he just come in, then I saw this stick in his hand, standing by the window, puffing the smoke out. The air freshener started, but I was like, what is happening? Project manager. So, and he will lead. If we want to do any training, he will be the one that will say, okay, safety, go ahead. Imagine that kind of a thing. And it's not that if he goes out 7-10 times in 1 hour that wants to go and take a cigarette, that somebody you tell him, why are you going out to take your cigarette? But for him to just stand from his table, go to the smoking station and have a cigarette, he couldn't do that. So those are the kind of things that, as in still, and if I just play in my head, peradventure is a supervisor that he caught doing that, what will he say to him? What will he do? What will be his action? And he is the project manager. So those are the things that it is easier to say as a top guy, okay, we are not doing this signing procedure, violation, anybody will give him this one. But are you practicing it? That's the end. So I just remember it and I just said, chip it in. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, thank you, Mr. Femi, for that illustration. So in all that we are saying is, it must start from the top. The management commitment is one key thing that will improve the health and safety culture of every organization. The management is not committed, no matter the effort of the health and safety professional, you cannot go anywhere. You won't get much achieved. The management needs to be committed. The management needs to understand their roles, health and safety roles and responsibility. They need to be up and doing. in the implementation before the health and safety culture will be improved and before the workplace could be, to an extent, made safe. So with all that we've said today, now my own advice to us as professionals is, in as much as we have to ensure that the workplace is safe, first, you also have to ensure that you are safe. What I mean by that is ensure that you have the competency required to do your job. Ensure that you are improving yourself. Ensure that you know exactly what you are supposed to do at any point in time. And the world is becoming a global village that you can research on anything at any time. Even maybe before you go to the management meeting to present your ideas, it's paramount that you make some research, put in some laws, regulations that will help you to argue your point. The legal requirements, the moral responsibilities, the financial implications, put all this together. These are what the management want to hear, especially when it has to do with financial implications. Okay, because most times, depending on the country, the legal implication might not be applicable to them because maybe they are the big shop. They know one or two people that they will not get prosecuted. So, but financial implication is always of interest to them. So we need to learn how to put these regulations, laws together and ensure that we put it out to them while communicating. Especially, most times, you see, when we prepare our health and safety reports, we just put the observation, the picture, and your recommendation. So I recommend, or I suggest that when putting in your recommendation, quote some legal backups. This will, in as much as most times they might not read it, but if you have a coordination meeting and you are saying this out, your recommendation is being backed up by legal requirements, and it might go a long way. So let's just try this and see how far we can use it to communicate the responsibilities to the management. Okay, so Mr. Andrew, your hand is raised up. You have 1 minute to contribute.
Yeah, sorry, this is coming a bit late, but let me just, I want to answer a question. Yeah, we are at this same IOSH level, and we all have read about IOSH ethical behavior and all that. So I want to ask a question. I need help from you guys. For instance, you have non-compliance manager or project manager. It's not complying at all, not following the health and safety. So as health and safety officer, officer or practitioner, manager, what have you, you've done all you could do, but they are not still complying. There is 90 to 100% chance of fatality. And because you want to keep your job, should you remain in that environment and continue working? That's the question. Just brief.
Yeah. Can I come in?
Yeah.
Come in.
Mr. Andrew, sorry, Mr. David, sorry to, you started again. We will stay at 9 o'clock. Okay, let's go.
Wait,
This one.
wait. I will answer him. See, we have, you know, we are all here in Qatar, and we also, that's why I said most of us, except for some few that were so lucky that since they came to Qatar, they'll be finding themselves in organizations that they have standard, that you might not have an opportunity to experience such thing. I find myself in some organization like that, where, in fact, you'll be seeing the risk, and maybe this is your first job. Okay, so now there are ways we normally save ourselves, okay, as a practitioner. You see, if you find yourself in this kind of situation, there are some basic things we should do around ourselves. You know, yes, you've been trying effort to make sure that everything is safe. But you see, if the commitment from the management is not there, there's high chances of fatality, just like you said. But for a safety officer or a professional to protect yourself in the hands of the so-called law that when it happens, once ambulance and police come, the first person that they will pick you. You see, the basic things we used to do, the normal tax briefing, two-bus talk, induction, your observation and all that, you know, not everybody will have opportunity to be having communication, email communication with the project manager. But if you have, you know, in the case I find myself, I had the opportunity to communicate. So I have emails evidence. And each time I send my email, I back them, I have them downloaded, you know, and saved. And all these things we have to do, because the truth is this, even when it happens, and they begin investigation, and they find out that it is not your fault, you will be released. Okay, it is when the management is not doing their job, and because they are not doing their job, you decide not to also do your job to protect yourself. If the management is not committed to it, there is little or nothing you can do, you know, to save that fatality, but at least you can protect yourself in the sight of the law. Okay, so that is my contribution or my answer to that question.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, that was straight to the point. I think that's exactly what Harrison wants to say. Harrison, you can go ahead.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Stevie and Mr. Joseph. Thank you so much. Exactly what I wanted to say, but just a little more light. Like you said, Mr. Stephen, we have to keeping on the record. Okay, we have this observation for non-compliance that could result to a fatality or a serious injury. You have to document this report. We have change of communication. Not everyone, like you said, have the opportunity to communicate to the project director. Not everyone, because we have a manager. Sometimes we have safety engineer. Sometimes we have a safety coordinator, you know. So there are change of communication. But from your own end, as an officer overseeing the activities on the site, whether you're a site inspector or safety officer or supervisor or whatever you are, but you are site-based, write your report with the evidence and send this. And I dare to say, you can stop the job, let them restart the job, but stop the job and reflect this on your report that the job has been temporarily suspended. Let him be the one to restart it and let the fatality happen. With your report and everything, you will be safe. Even if your manager failed to transmit this to the project director, it is the manager and the project director that will decide on why they didn't take action on this. But make sure from your own side, you do whatever that is required of you when it comes to the law. I think that is it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your contribution. From my own side, I will answer that question with a practical experience that I had in the past. What I do in that situation is I will have to create a scenario that will draw the attention of everyone. Well, how I will do that is, if I have communicated to the management through email, through a verbal communication, and they seem not to be interested, okay? And I am so concerned about the welfare of the people doing that job. I've done the training, communications, task briefing, and the management seems unconcerned about that. So what I will do in that situation is I will create a scenario. This is what I usually do. I will create a scenario in the sense that I will stop that activity at the time when they need it so much. At that particular time that they feel they want to finish it, I will stop the job. And while I stop the job, the management will get involved. They will call everybody that they need to call. And In some cases, we raise voices. And in that process, you are creating more awareness in such a way that if peradventure something happens in future or something goes wrong, you have cleared your conscience that you have done all that you need to do. You've gone to the extra mile to ensure that this doesn't happen. So that is what I do on my own side. I will not just end it by sending email or communication. I will create a scenario in the site that will draw the attention of the management, and everybody will come to that location. And if they decide to proceed with the job, then I will know that I've done my best. So that is what I will do on my own side. David, let's hear from you.
All right, thank you very much. I've heard all what everyone has said. I would just like to approach this issue or concern from a different point of view or perspective. Really, first concern is I would like to know what's the relationship of Mr. Andrew and the PM, the project manager. What's your relationship with him like? You know, I think a way to resolve this kind of issue is that you need to build a relationship, you know, with such type of people. You need to make them your friend. If they are not your friend, it's very difficult to influence them. And even if you cannot approach them directly or make friendship with them, you can, you know, penetrate them through someone that is very close to them, maybe their closest friend on the project, the one that is always with them, smoking with them. You can first and foremost make that person your friend, and gradually you buy in, you know, you key in to him. And secondly, when you want to intervene, you know, maybe when you see there is a trend, a particular trend of violation or compliance on the site, and you want to intervene, you don't just go directly and you know make your intervention to them, this and all that. No, you look at, because that's the busy hour, that's the rush hour, and the tempo is very high. So if you are coming in as safety, they always, you know, see us as a showstopper. You know, safety is coming to stop production and all of that. So they want to exercise their position, they want to exercise their authority. So you could, you know, be very calculative and strategic. You understand? You could sometimes just sacrifice the first day. The following day, you could just sacrifice that day. Then later that day in the evening, depending on where you live or they live. I don't know if it's a camp base or you know you live differently and all of that. But try to create an opportunity whereby maybe after close of work or during lunchtime. I think this work best almost for people who smoke, because most of these PM, they smoke. So if you are a smoker, it's very easy for you to socialize, to associate with them. Then during the break period, that time, you can now quietly, you know, talk to him, you know, tell him the implication, the consequences, like you almost saw so acts, you know, so unsafe action, which was life-threatening, or the worker they were even at an imminent danger, you know, or this could have happened, that could have led to this, maybe perhaps could have cost the company, you know, so losses and stuff like that. I think the tempo that time is calm, is cool. So he would, even if he's still, you know, adamant, he will know that he would take in the piece of advice you have given to the professional piece of advice you are giving to him, and later he could reflect on it and say, well, this guy is saying true, and you will see gradually you will have an influence over them. So you'll be able to influence them, not physically, basically on the feet, but during those break hours. For those that live in the same camp, you want to, when they are having their drinks, you want to go and sit with them. Sometimes you can even invite them, boss. You have a chat with him. How is your weekend going to look like? You know, do you have any plans for your weekend? I would like to have a drink with you, you know, sit with you. And during those cool or cold time or hours, you can be able to ship in 1 or 2 things to them, which is wrong. Areas on the job where they are not really complying with safety, but you have a solution handy, you give them the best practice, the best advice also, that if only they could do it this way or do it that way, everything will be fine, everything will be cool. I think to use such an approach, it can also help, it's just one among every suggestion, one among every solution that everybody's bringing to the table. So I think try to find a way to become a friend with that stubborn PM or whoever who is proven stubborn there, just find a way how you can just be a friend, then look for how you can invite him over or get close to him. If it's coffee, drink coffee with him, just something that could bring you close to him, just depending on that. Then gradually you now start shipping in, what things you observe on site that are not right, you think as per the guidelines, or your site safety rules and regulation or procedure, safe working procedure, this is how it's supposed to be, then gradually you will see you'll be able to woo them in or influence them with time. This thing takes time. It's not going to happen automatically, but just try to build that relationship first, because it's easy for you to influence your friend than to influence any other person. So try to see how you can cement a relationship with him. But if for him it will be difficult, then look for that person that is very close to him. Try to also see if you can penetrate that person. Then from through that person, you can get close to him. And when doing your intervention, don't do it on the site there when the work is happening. Otherwise, they would downplay it. Always try to look at a cool time, maybe during the lunch break hours or after close of work, just see if you can have time with them. I'm sure that time they would listen to you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. David, for that. Harrison, please just 1 second so that we'll call it a day.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Why I agree with Mr. David, okay, but I want to believe that is very, very informal, okay, because it's almost like unofficial. Okay, if I have to follow you to your accommodation or your camp like this, to cajole you, to follow the safety procedure, it is good, okay, but it is actually, I want to believe it is it's unofficial, it is informal, and that I cannot document, that I cannot use the court of law, that cannot save me. You understand? Because the truth is, there's what I call behavioral-based safety. It is in the character of that supervisor or that former or that project manager, whoever, just to act, just not to follow the procedure, to be deviant, so to say. You understand? He will commit. He's going to. We're going to have a situation one day, okay, an incident one day that there will be no evidence for me to bring before the court of law that I have done this and I have done this and I have done this. You understand? So that is the essence where we have to be very, very formal when we are dealing with this kind of people. You understand? I have been part of, I've raised a non-compliance that actually resulted in issuing a CM, construction manager, first warning notice. Yes, I raised that observation, that non-compliance, and he was issued a letter. Then also I have raised non-compliance. This is just smoking on the site. And 14,000 was deducted from that engineer. But the truth is, because we have a safety project manager that cares about safety, we have a safety manager also that cares, that are committed. So it's very easy for me. But not in all cases. Some people don't have that privilege. I can understand. But however, we as safety professionals must be very, very careful when we are executing our responsibility, so to say. Okay, we are there to guide them. We are there to advise them. We are there to see if they are not following. We report it as much as we can, to make them follow. Okay, but it's not about casualty or going to the accommodation and dining with them, eating with them, or drinking with them. Most of these people, when you start following follow them up in that manner, let me use the word, the PG word, see finish become too much, and they may never follow again. That is the truth. Thank you so much. That's my submission.
All right, thank you very much. Actually, in the scenario of health and safety management, there are different approaches that could be used to achieve your desired aim. So it's not there's no one method that fits it all. Depends on the individual you are dealing with. So you can try this. If this didn't work out, you try this. If you have tried emails and the officials and nothing is working out, you can also try some unofficial approaches, which David has suggested also, which might actually work for you, and you will end up having a compliance top management at your workplace. So in all, our aim is to achieve a safe workplace, and our goal is also to remain committed to health and safety of the employees and ourselves, including the employer as well. So with that note, we are coming to the end of today's workshop. We've stayed more than our regular time, but it's worth it. So I thank you all, and I appreciate you all for your contribution. I've learned a lot today, and I'm sure that you learned also. So thank you for, if you need a CPD certificate, just send me your full name directly in the chat, so I will prepare for you. Thank you very much, and see you same time next week. We'll be discussing another topic which will may known to us. So
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Mr. Joseph. Thank you so much, Mr. Joseph. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson, rather. Mr. Johnson, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Femi. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, David. See you.
Thank you.
Next time.
Please, if you stop the recording, I have a question I would like to ask. Thanks to everyone.